Atma, Paramatma, and Sadhana. Due to internal clash and cohesion amongst the three immanent principles, sentient, mutative, and static, the resultant force bursts out at any one vertex of the triangle formed due to the ever-flowing eternal force. Purusha or consciousness is the nucleus from whom commences the process of sanchar or uniform movement from the subtle to the gross, from the one to the many. Mahatattva, Ahamtattva, and Chitta are formed as a result of increasing crudeness, and mind is born at the stage where all three Mahatattva, Ahamtattva, and Chitta are present. The original entity is the unqualified, undivided macrocosm. By further crudification, the Chitta gets metamorphosed into five fundamental factors, namely ethereal, aerial, luminous, liquid, and solid. Right from nucleus Purushottam to the crudest solid, there is no change in Purush Deh. The action and interaction of the three forces of Prakriti cause a change in appearance whereby the transcendent entity appears to have lost its transcendentality. This phase of evolution, named Sanchar, is the inanimate phase of creation and represents the cosmic mind or microcosm in different stages. In the living bodies, after the formation of crudest Kshiti Tattva or solid factor, division and association of matter result in the formation of mind. The process of Pratisanchar commences at this point. It is the counter movement wherein the unit mind gets dilated ever increasingly. The volume and mass of the unit mind increases due to increasing reflection of cosmic consciousness, and matter gets decimated continuously till in the end the unit mind achieves mental liberation. Philosophy terms it Savikalp Samadhi. Throughout Pratisanchar, the unit mind or microcosm exists in different stages. Thus, the inanimate phase of creation or sanchar is a stage of the cosmic mind, and the animate phase of Pratisanchar is the stage of unit minds. Each and every atom and molecule of the macrocosm is nothing else but Purushottam. It is He who radiates Himself everywhere. It is He who is omnipresent as the witnessing entity as well. As the sun by its radiation pervades the solar system, so does Purushottam his system by his Chitti Sakti. Thus, in the cosmic mind, both the radiates stuff and the witnessing entity are Purushottam himself. In the second phase of evolution, that is at the different stages of the unit mind, Purushottam is the witnessing entity. All other objects beyond being crude derivatives of Chitta. In the phases both of Sanchar and Pratisanchar, Purushottam is the consciousness. He witnesses the macrocosms and microcosms. Purushottam is therefore also called collective consciousness. As witnessing entity, Purushottam connects himself to his mental object with the help of his avidya maya and reflects himself on the object as Chitti Sakti. This reflection is not like a reflection in a mirror, but a reflection involving association like the rays of the sun. Association of Purushottam with the cosmic mind, whereby he functions as the witnessing entity, is called Protojog. Association of Purushottam with the unit mind separately and individually, whereby he functions at the witnessing entity for each individual unit mind, is called Otayog. His association with the unit minds in collectivity is also termed Protayog. Thus, in Sanchar there is only Protayog, but in Pratisanchar both Protayog and Otayog are there. It has been fully explained previously that the resultant force of Prakriti bursts out from one of the vertices of the triangle of forces of Prakriti and that this is the origin of creation. The midpoint of this triangle of forces from whose vertex the bursting occurred in Purushottama is Purushottama. The midpoints of these triangles of forces having bursting vertices coincide, and hence Purushottam is a singular entity. Philosophers have defined Paramatma as the collective name of Purushottam. His protajog in Sanchar and protajog in Pratisanchar, Paramatma signifies conscious of creations. It is the consciousness in the nucleus and the consciousness in the macrocosm and microcosms. Macrocosms and microcosms themselves have not been included in Paramatma. The collectivity of Paramatma, macrocosm and microcosm, is Sagun Brahma, that is, Brahma in which Prakriti appears in manifestation. In Sagun Brahma, Purushottam is the nucleus consciousness, and so the latter is also named Kutastha. The nucleus consciousness or the Atma in the unit structure is also called Kutastha Chaitanya. Its controlling station is the middle point between the eyebrows, the place where the functioning of the pituitary gland is locked. Sanchar is movement away from the nucleus. The nucleus itself, being the center of Brahma Chakra or the great cycle of creation, the force of Sanchar is therefore centrifugal. Philosophy refers to the outward movement as dominated by avidya maya or illusion of ignorance. Under the effect of avidya maya, creation moves from the subtle to the gross, finally reaching the furthest point in Sanchar, where the crudest solid of Chiti Tattva is formed, where the metamorphosed form of the Chitta possesses the maximum chemical affinity with no possibility of any further reduction in the intermolecular and interatomic spaces. Depending on conditions, either the unit structure bursts at this point or Jadaspot occurs, or the mind is formed by a process of division and association of matter. The formation of mind is the start of the process of Pratisanchara or the cycle for the unit to progress from the crude to the subtle. This process is effected by the domination of Vidya Maya or illusion of knowledge, whereby the direction of motion is towards the nucleus Purushottam, the center of all creations. Every step in the direction is a step nearer the center. The destined goal of all, the ultimate result of all creations. This force is centripetal and is associated with the growing attraction of Purushottama. This attraction is his blessing by which he leads every being of his towards the kindly divine light. The associated reflection of Purushottam increases the proximity of the unit mind to Purushottam. The mind proportionately expands and progress till the gradual expansion brings about similarity of the microcosm and the macrocosm, and the former gets merged into the latter. This process occurs in Pratisanchar under the centripetal force of attraction from the nucleus consciousness Purushottam. The unit mind, however, can accelerate the speed of the motion by realizing his blessing more and more, and thereby acquiring a psycho-spiritual parallelism with greater speed. This attempt to accelerate the movement towards the ultimate goal is sadhana. Only human beings possess the ego to perform this sadhana. Spiritual sadhana is nothing but the attempt to accelerate the motion of Pratisanchar and thereby cover up the painful hours of divine separation as early as possible. The touchstone of spiritual sadhana is therefore the feeling that I am tending towards him. Every delayed moment of life is only a moment of pain. That alone which brings his realization is his spiritual practice, all other action being ritualistic ostentations. Consciousness in the psychophysical unit structures gets manifested in the process of Pratisanchar when Purushottam by his oath yug associatively reflects on the unit psychic plate. It is through this process Pratisanchar that the ever merciful elevates each creation of his by the force of Vidyamaya. As already discussed, the physical and psychic clash and the attraction of the great cause psychic dilation, and ultimately the unit psychic body can attain its final liberation or mukti by its spiritual sadhana. Different unit minds exist at different levels and experience varying degrees of his love and proximity depending upon their progress in the process of Pratisanchar. The auspicious day of infinite Ananda descends, and all the bondage of Prakriti settle down when Brahmatva is attained. Such individuals set the ideal for humanity, and in turn humanity starts paying homage to them. Only such elevated beings can and should be called Mahapurush, meaning thereby elevated psychic beings. Unto their holy feet one can offer the flowers of devotion and aspiration, but they desire to no crude earthly flowers and offerings. The advent of Mahapurusha is misinterpreted as incarnation. Incarnation is an illogical hypothesis. The whole universe being created out of him and by him is his incarnation. The term avatar means a derivation, and the application of this term is individual units who are far advanced in the process of Pratisanchar is a misleading misnomer. It is illogical to consider that the microcosm metamorphosed himself directly into some unit structure. In most cases, human beings are the most evolved individual units as a class in his creation, and every stage of the elevated psychic Mahapurush is the result of Sanchar and then Pratisanchar. It is a gradual elevation and not an abrupt descent or occurrence. Logically speaking, therefore, it will be correct to designate any unit consciousness as incarnation of God, or to say that the messenger of God traverses the path of Sanchar, goes through a process of evolution and importance, and through psychic dilation in the process of Pratisanchara reaches different stages of elevation. The incarnation theory or avatar-bad, however, hypothesized that the incarnated being is the direct descent of the Almighty, the rest of his creation remaining unexplained as to its source of origin. The word avatar derives from ava minus tra, which means descent, derive or degenerate. The incarnated being, according to this dogma of degeneration of Purushottam, cannot have an equal status with Purushottam. When the psychic status of a created being assumes sameness with the cosmic entity, the unit psychic entity actually merges into the cosmic mind, leaving no dualism. Hence, how can any equal status with Purushottama be imagined existing as a separate entity in any age without Brahmachakra? The whole theory of incarnation or avatar-bad is therefore not convincing and rational for an intellectual analysis. Behind the superstitious belief of avatar-bad lies one more social current created by a class of vested interests. Inquisitiveness and reasoning is a natural impulse in human beings. Due to certain pressing circumstances or intellectual inertia, there was a reaction against the illogical faiths and superstition prevalent in society. These superstitions provided a strong basis for exploitation of society by intellectual parasites who had learned to live on the blood and labor of others to maintain their domination through a system of superstitious belief, these parasites invent means to curb this growth of reaction and intellectual rationalism and presented to the mass as sentimental appeal. Any command, rational or irrational, was enforced on society with so-called divine force by enunciation of the incarnation theory. Corruption was perpetrated in the name of God, and all those raising their heads against such commands or preachings were called reactionaries. Atheists and curbed drastically give the dog a bad name and hang it was their motto. They went to the extent of manipulating, polluting, and misinterpreting even the precious writings of many great philosophers whose work had been respected as religious treatises from ancient times, all with an ulterior motive to get their interests served. In Brahmachakra, the collective name of Sanchara and Pratsanchara, there is no uniformity of flow. The speed of the sentient force is greater than that of the mutative, and the mutative has more speed than the static. Thus, in the beginning of Sanchara, the speed is greater. Similarly, after elevation under the influence of the sentient force or reaching Samanya Deh, a stage beyond the Hiranyamaya Kosh, where the unit mind experiences only the sentient force, the speed is greater. The speed of the unit mind far exceeds the normal flow in the cosmos, and it gets accelerated if the unit mind, as a result of spiritual practice, tends itself towards the nucleus consciousness. Since the beginning of creation, humans have been aspiring for the merger with the nucleus consciousness. The non-uniformity of speed changes the moment of the unit mind to an elliptical force, and the motion changes to oval from circular. They get merged in Purushottam, who aspire for him as the ultimate destiny. But those who aim in moksha, where sadhana is the complete surrender of self into that Nirgun Brahma, the objectless consciousness, get out of this Brahmachakra by a tangential touch. At this point of tangential touch in the abode of Tarak Brahma, who resides within the scope of both Nirgun and Sagun Brahma. Tarak Brahma is a concept of Tantra. In Tantra, the whole creation known as Sambhuti. When Tarak Brahma by his own will takes the help of the 5 fundamental factors, the Panchabhutas, his physical entity comes within the scope of Sagun Brahma. Otherwise, he is Nirgun Brahma. When Tarak Brahma takes the assistance of the 5 fundamental factors, according to Tantra, it is called his Mahasambhuti. In Tantra sadhana or in Anand Marg sadhana, one whose goal is Purushottam merges in Sagun Brahma, and one who aims at Nirgun Brahma becomes surrendered into the objectless entity. It is only in Tantra that the sadhana of Tarak Brahma has been specially defined, distinct from the sadhana of Nirgun and Sagun, and has its own peculiarity. Theoretically speaking, Sagun Brahma has infinite sanskaras, and so for an infinite time to come, Sagun Brahma will continue to enjoy the fruit of its own past actions. Nirguna is the objectless entity with no action or derivation, but Tarak Brahma is the middle point and can fulfill the function of both. He guides, loves, and favors his affectionate sons and daughters. His children say that he cannot live without loving them and address him. O our great Father, our affectionate Mother, our all, we remember thee, we adore thee, O witnessing entity, we offer our homage to thee. Thou art the only rescue in this crude worldly ocean, so to thee we surrender ourselves. This complete surrender is the summum bonum of all spiritual sadhana, which only can lead to him from where decline is not even imaginable. Really blessed is one who has attained this complete surrender unto him, like the piece of salt which went to measure the depth of the ocean, but a momentous divine jerk and an attraction occurred, and the bit of salt was lost no one knows where.